So the very first thing you need to do is you need to have Node installed on your machine. If you don't have Node installed, just Google Node and it should come up. Node.js.org. Go ahead and install this, follow it along. It's super simple. So I'm going to assume that you have that. If you have Node greater than 6, you can just create, if you have npm 5.2 plus installed, which comes from the default Node installation if you're installing it today, then you can use npx create react app my app. If not, then you have to run this command, install create react app, and then you can use the create react app and put the name of the app of your application right here. So let's see what version of npm I have. So I'm just going to do npm-v. I have 5.6, so I should be able to use npx. Yes, I can. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my directory in my terminal, and I'm going to do npx create react app, and we're going to do react blog. It's going to create a new React app. It's going to use Yarn because I do have Yarn installed, and it's preferred to use Yarn for this. Facebook made Yarn and they made React, so they work nicely together. I know there's a ton of confusion, and hopefully it just works. If not, it's kind of a quest to get it working, not going to lie. Sometimes it breaks, sometimes you have different versions. You have Homebrew installing NPM and Node, and you have to do different installations. So I really hope you can do a clean install and everything works great. In that case, you'll have a great experience. Alright, so I'm just going to fast forward this for this to finish. Okay, so it has been created. So I could just go into the folder and just say yarn start, but actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of this terminal and I'm going to start it in my code editor, in my Visual Studio Code. So, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to open up the React blog, which was just created, and I totally could have just opened it in the terminal. Okay, so now let me just set this all up. Okay, and then I also have the Materialise documentation up just because I'm going to be referencing it a lot, just to easily drag and drop some HTML and CSS into the code. So now we are in our React, our new app. So I'm going to hit Control tilde and Visual Studio Code to open up the terminal, and I'm going to run yarn start. And it's going to start up, and we're going to get the default React application when you do this. Okay, so now we have the basic React app. So the first thing that we want to do is kind of strip away everything we don't need. So if we look inside our source folder, actually no, the very first thing I like to do is go into the public and go to the index, because I'll forget to do this a lot of the time, and actually just change the title, which is what comes up here and comes up on search engines and whatnot. And I'm just going to say React, or my React blog. Okay, save that. Don't got to worry about that ever again. Close out of that. And we're going to go back to the source. Alright, so we don't need this logo. Get rid of it. We don't need this CSS. We're going to be using Materialise, so we're going to be importing that in a second. We're not going to be doing any testing in this video. And we don't need this CSS either. Okay, so now we're back to the bare bones, but now it's giving me all these errors because those files don't exist and it's trying to load them. So we're going to delete these imports, so it no longer tries to import what's not there. We're going to delete the logo image because we don't have it. And now these class names are pretty pointless since we don't have any styles going on here, so we can delete these. Okay. Alright, go give that a save. Oh, I accidentally deleted a caret. On the index, we got, it's trying to import the index.css. Get rid of that. All right, we have a very bare bones React application. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get Materialise this thing into this thing. So the best way to do it is, well, first we have to, we're going to install Materialise, the Materialise CSS. So I have yarn, so I'm just going to do yarn add materialize-css. You could do npm install materialize CSS, same thing. So we're going to do that. We're going to let that load. Download. Again, I'm going to fast forward this. It should be much faster for you on your end. Okay, so while this is finishing up, I'm going to import it at the top of the app.js because I want Materialise to cover everything that's within my app itself. So I'm going to do import and Materialise-CSS. So what this does is it goes into the package JSON and it sees, oh, it's a dependency. So node to go into the node modules folder, and then it's going to find the Materialise CSS package. And then within that package, we want to go into the distribution folder, into the CSS, and into the materialize.min.css. Did I spell that right? Materialize. I think I did. So you can confirm that path if you actually go into your npm modules. Where is that? Materialize. H-I-J-K-L. Materialise CSS, distribution, CSS, and you can see this is the file right here that we're importing. So this is essentially just going to always have the CSS file loaded in whenever we have the app loaded. So I'll go ahead and save that, and we should see an immediate effect. It's recompiling, and it's going to refresh the page, and there you go. We can see the text is already a lot better because it's using the Roboto font from Google, which comes with Materialise. Okay. Now let's go ahead and break this up a little bit. Let me close this node modules folder. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create a folder within our source called components. So we're only going to have these three files here: the app, index, register, service worker. You never want to touch this. This handles a lot of the behind the scenes React magic. Definitely some advanced stuff right there. So we have the components folder. Now, within the components folder, we're going to split this up, split our layout up. So if we look to what our original goal is, you'll see we have a header, we have a main section, and we have a footer. So let me just hide that back over here. So let's go ahead and split that up. So what we're going to say is we're going to create a new file within components called header.js, and we're going to create another one called footer.js. And then we're also going to have a main. Now the main is going to be, it's not going to just be one file. The main is going to be all of our different pages and all of our different components within that main. So we're actually going to make a folder called main. And within the folder main, we're going to create a new file called index.js. Okay, so we'll start with the header. So the easiest way to create a React app is to use pure components first. Whenever you can, you want to use a pure component. And so you might be like, what the hell is a pure component? It's very simple. It's not really using that much React. All it's using is JSX. So first thing you need to do in order to use JSX is you do need to import React. So on every single React file, almost every single file you make in a React project, the first thing you're going to do is type import React from React. Okay, so now you have React on this file. Now what we're going to do is we're going to declare a constant, and we're actually going to make a unanimous function. So we're going to say constant header is equal to a unanimous function, and we're going to do the curly braces, and then we can say return, and whatever you return in here can be, this can be in JSX. Now there's a shortcut which I'm going to be using from this point on. I just want to show you that this is how the original is supposed to be. If you are only returning an object, you're not putting any logic or function before you create your JSX, which we will get into in a minute. So you should just do this. Just return a parenthesis. And so this is just returning some JSX right here. Okay. And then we don't need this curly bracket. And put a semicolon there. Now, within every file, you need to export something. In order to access a component within a file, you need to export it. So we're going to say export default header. And what this default means is that whenever you just say import the default item within this file, it's going to import this constant right here. Now you could have multiple exports within this, so that's kind of why there's a default, because you can say, oh, import this, this, and that from this file, and then also just the default. Okay, so you'll see why that's kind of important as we go forward. So within the header, we're going to start using JSX. It may look confusing and weird, but you get the hang of it. It's basically just like HTML, except everything has to be closed bracket. You can't have, input, whatever. That's a no-no. You need to close it out. Okay, so, and then also classes have to be changed to class names. So we're going to say, we're going to use the HTML header tag, and we're just going to say my React blog. Let's just get this thing working first of all. Okay, we have a header, my React blog. And we're going to go back to the app.js, and we're going to import the header from, and we're going to go into our components/header. So what this does is it says, okay, go into components/header and then import whatever the default is. If you don't put curly braces around whatever you put in here, it's going to always try to import whatever you selected as the default export. If you put curly braces, then you can name your imports. For example, if you said export constant header, there's no default export for this. So what you could do then, in theory, is you could just import whatever's in the braces, and it'll find this header and give you that. But we're just going to use the default. That is the recommended way to do ESLint, which eventually you should be using ESLint. It really helps you a lot with not remembering to do all these little best practices and things. But generally speaking, you always want to have a default export, at least one on most files. So we're just going to do import header from components/header. All right, so now we have this JSX loading. Within this, we can just say header, and we have to close it out. And that is a header component. And so now we should see our header, my React blog. Okay. So obviously that needs to get styled and look a lot better. So now this is where Materialise is going to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the components, nav bar, and oh, yeah, my screen's a little too small. It was loading a little weird. Okay, so again, this video is not going to be too much about styling and CSS, so I'm going to try to speed past most of it as possible. So I'm going to actually replace this header, ugly looking header, with this nice little nav. Okay. And so whenever you copy and paste something from elsewhere and it just has these classes, you're going to get errors, because a class is a JavaScript class. If you're thinking about it, you can create, if you look an app, you can see a class app. So this is a reserved word class, which is why you can't use the HTML tag of class. So instead what you do is you just you select all the classes and you rename them to class name with camel case like this, and then that should make things work all right. So it's recompiling, and you're going to get this warning in here, but it's going to look way better. I don't really like this pink, so I'm going to add the class name equals to blue, and that's just a Materialise class. Okay, and we're going to change logo to my React blog. Okay. So you notice we see, it says links must not point to hashtag. You shouldn't use hashtags as links, so you should always just at least put a descriptive href. So I would just say like home, for example. But it doesn't really matter right now because we're going to be changing all of these links right now. Let's do it right now. So first of all, let's see what links we have. So we have home, we have about, and we have create post. So this create post we'll get into in a little bit. So we'll just say create post, put that hashtag there. But for all these other links, the way routing and links works is there's a few different ways you can do. But we're going to use React Router. It's the standard way of doing routing within your React app.